Well, hello brothers and sisters, and welcome to Mission Zero, and this is episode 8 of Flashback Friday. So today I want to talk about a couple of interesting things that Jesus said that sort of pertain to all of us, whether you're a follower of Christ or not, whether you believe in this Christianity and this religion stuff or not. The first one comes in Luke chapter 11, and it is 11:23. So to give a little context to Luke chapter 11, or at least to this section of Luke chapter 11, the Pharisees have come and accused Jesus of healing under the power of Satan. And so Jesus says to them, a house divided can't stand. If Satan was giving me power to do these things, he's giving me power to undercut himself, that would completely be without point. So he goes on to say in 11:23 that those who are not with me are against me, and those who don't gather alongside me are scattering. And so what he's talking about there is, if you are not someone who is trying to gather people up, if you are not someone who is trying to promote goodwill and to promote the unity of people, then you're dividing. And don't we all know people that are like that? They don't want to be a part of anything. They don't want to be identified by anything. They can't possibly stomach the idea of liking something that another person likes or anything like that, right? They just want to be their own little island, and they want to push everyone else to be their own little islands too. What Jesus is saying there is, man, you can't do that, right? You've got to be a uniter. You've got to be a peacemaker. You've got to be a person who's trying to be a part of things. But there's another verse that I think really gets overlooked, and I really want to focus on that today. And that is 2 chapters before this verse, and that is in Luke chapter 9. Now, Luke chapter 9 is an incredibly busy chapter. This is where we get the transfiguration. This is where we get one of the loaves and fishes. Like, this is a packed chapter. Well, then we get this couple of little verses that are, in my mind, incredibly important, despite the fact that I don't think I've ever heard a pastor mention them, and I have definitely never heard a sermon taught on this. And that is Luke chapter 9, verse 50. To give a little context to what exactly is going on in there, John, the Apostle John, is walking with Jesus and the disciples through the streets, and he catches a guy who is exorcising demons in Jesus' name. And John runs to Jesus and says, hey, dude, there was a guy back here and he was trying to exorcise demons in your name, and like, you weren't even here and he's not with us. And so I told him to cut that out. And Jesus says to John, what are you doing? Don't forbid him. Those who are not against us are with us. Now that's super interesting, isn't it? Because 2 chapters later, he says, if you're not with me, you're against me. But here he says, if you're not against me, you're with me. Now, how do you put those two, right? Because they're not exactly the opposite sides of the coin right there. How do you make sense of that? How do you piece that together? Well, first off, 2 completely different audiences, right? In chapter 11, he's speaking out against these Pharisees, these people whose entire job has been to be legalistic and to tell people, this is how you should behave, and that's what you should look like, and this is how you should present yourself, and I'm the model of what's correct and what's right. Right, so the Pharisees are being those people that I kind of talked about in the Word with Friends on Wednesday, right? These people who want to enforce their version of justice, their view of justice on you, when that's not at all what's supposed to happen. But in chapter 9, where he's talking to John about this man who's been casting out demons, he's talking about an entirely different thing. Hey, this guy is trying to do good for his fellow man. I've talked about this a bunch, that the disciples got that so often wrong, that they were trying to show the power of God instead of trying to show the love that God has for people by showing love themselves to those other people. And that's what Jesus is saying right there. He's saying Don't stop that guy from showing his love and his grace and his connectedness to other people. It doesn't matter if he's walking with you and I. His heart's in the right place. He's trying to do the right thing. He's not against me. He's not against the purpose of love and unification. He's not against grace. And if you're not against love, then you're for love. That's exactly what he's saying. Why does that matter? What's the practicality that I can give you in the next 60 seconds? It is this. I talked a couple of weeks ago about the narrow road that leads to heaven, and that's not narrow because it's a small number of people. It's narrow because there's just one thing that gets you down that road: love. There's a whole bunch of roads that lead to that path. Anyone who walks in love and unification, it doesn't matter what banner they fly. They could be atheist. If you're not against us, you're for us. I'm never going to try and convince you that Jesus is your personal Lord and Savior. That's for him to do in your life. What I'm here for, and what all the rest of the agents of God are here for, is to show you love and to open your heart out to us and to everyone around you. That's the better life that I'm always harping about. Being a real human being, being a real part of this species, is to love and to be unified, not to tear down, never to tear down, always to build up. Stop the anger, stop the rage, stop the superiority. That's where happiness lives. That's where fulfillment and joy live. All right, so I'm gonna cut it there. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please like it and share it. If you didn't like it, I'm perfectly happy for you to rage at me about it. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, smash the little bell if you want to see every video that we post and get push notifications of them. I will be back on Wednesday with a new word with friends, and we're going to talk about perfect, the word perfect, and sort of the idea of perfection. And Thursday, we're going to be back with a new blog post, and next Friday, I'll be back with another Flashback Friday. And I love you, and God bless you, and God bring multitudes of blessings into your life. And I love you, and so does he. And peace out.